Hi everyone, my name is Elise Levy. I work at Muse Group as the senior designer there. And today I am going to be teaching you about digital illustration made easy. So that basically means I'm going to take you through a design we're going to be making for Reno Resilient for their Instagram. And as I do that, I'm just going to give you some good tips and tricks and things to look out for and things to keep in mind when you're designing an illustration for social media. So it's really simple, but I'm going to be working in Procreate today, which is an app for your iPad, but it works very similarly as Adobe Sketch or Adobe Illustrator on your computer. So it's basically all the same design principles, and you can apply it to any application you're using. But just keep in mind some of the tools maybe might be a little bit different. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to share my screen so you can just follow along. All right, so now we're going to go into Procreate. If you've noticed, I have set it up to be a square size because this is going on Instagram. So this artboard specifically is 1,800 pixels by 1,800 pixels. That's the standard size for an Instagram post. And that way it's already sized up perfectly and it'll fit into your grid really nice. So you don't have to worry about it getting resized. So the next important thing is we want to set up our colors. So we're using the exact colors we want. All different colors are based on red, green, and blue, or CMYK. And every color you work with should have a hex number. So for Reno Resilient, we have 2 colors in their branding scheme. We have a yellow, a mustard yellow, and kind of a navy blue. So I have their hex colors. So what I'm going to do is just enter them in to the drawing itself. And that way we'll just have it ready. So now we have my yellow. And now I'm going to get my blue going as well. So things to keep in mind when you're designing for social media. I really like to stay within the brand colors because that way when someone looks at a grid, it looks super consistent and they know that all the designed images are on brand, and it makes your grid look really good on the computer and on the phone as well. So that's always a great thing to keep in mind. And we also have white in the color palette that we can use as well. And then if we feel like adding in another maybe neutral color like a tan or something, we always. But for right now, we're going to start with this. Okay, so we are on our first layer. For this, we're going to actually make it our sketch layer. And so that kind of just allows us to lay everything out with no pressure. So I'm going to actually select a different color. So just find a nice light gray, and then I'm going to get my sketching tool going. And so what we want this one to say is we're going to say calling all local leaders. So if we think about spacing, and I can add drawing grids to my little pad here, I can say calling all local leaders. So now we kind of have the spacing for our words going, which is great. So now when I think about calling, I obviously think of a telephone, so I think it might be cute for us to do kind of a retro telephone. So we'll kind of block that out really nice, really nicely. So beautiful. Now, as I said, this is a sketch layer, so no one gets to judge what it looks like. And as I'm looking at it, I'm kind of like, I feel like I messed up where I wanted all this to be. So I'm going to just do a new layer, and I'm just going to delete this one because I don't like it anymore. Okay. So we're going to redo that. So we're going to put calling up here. Calling all local leaders. Much better. All right, and now we're going to get our little phone going. Got a nice little stand here. Circle part. That's the part it kind of sits on. All righty, and that's the cord. Okay, I know you're looking at this and you're saying, wow, that looks really bad. That's okay if you're thinking that, because it does look really bad right now. But I promise it will look better. So we have a new layer going in. And so now I want to switch over and I want to go to monoline, because that's kind of the line I like working in when we're doing illustration, because it just keeps it super clean. It's super nice. And as you can see, I chose a yellow background because I think actually the artwork is going to be in blue. Why? Because I think it might make it a little bit more fun. So what we're going to do is we're first going to do the dial area first. So that's actually going to be right here. So we're starting here. I'm going to edit that shape and make it a circle. So things to keep in mind when you're doing design. Symmetry always looks good. Everyone likes when things are symmetrical. It's just the way the eye works. So if you are making a circle, make it a perfect circle. And whatever style you go with, just be consistent. And don't be afraid of having it look perfect, because perfect's boring. And it's actually more important that it has some personality. So I know it's really stressful to draw sometimes for things, because you kind of are like, I'm bad at this. But once you get out of your own head, you realize that, you know, you're actually not as bad as you think you are, and you're probably just more afraid than you think you are. So right now I'm adding the different buttons, and I'm just doing this off memory, but I assume that it would have 10 buttons for all the different numbers, right? Does that sound about right to everyone? So I'm gonna just keep going until I hit 10. I think I'm at 6 right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. See, I can't even count. Thank goodness I know how to draw. Okay. 7. So kind of weird. Procreate's a really nice program if you do have an iPad and you're an illustrator, because it's just very intuitive. It's like if you're drawing on paper, which is really nice, because illustrators sometimes, to do the simplest thing, can just take a really long time. So I've learned to use both Illustrator and Procreate for design, because I think it just speeds up the whole process. And if I'm doing my own lettering or just really simple, quick drawings, Procreate is definitely the way to go. It's just easy, it's efficient, and I love that. So just good things to keep in mind. Okay, so we have this fun little center going on. Can click out of that. Okay, so how symmetrical do we want this to be? I think we want it pretty symmetrical. So I'm actually going to go in and edit my drawing guide, and I'm going to go into my symmetry setting. So this is really nice, and it's another pro of Procreate because it allows you to go 100% mirroring your images. And it just really makes everything a lot easier when it comes time to make something symmetrical, because you have this opportunity to just make it perfect, which is great. So this actually we want to move into the center. Okay. So these little knobs up here are where the phone sits. We want that to kind of be the same. We're going to go down here. Go like this. Sorry, I'll zoom out so you guys can see it. There you go. Oops. Sorry, I can't help but just spin it all the time. So it just helps me get cleaner lines. Alrighty. So we have this little shape going. I actually want to add another little line here. Oops, nope. So if you've noticed, one thing about illustrating is it might take you, oops, several times to get what you want. And so it's constantly erasing what you've done, redoing what you've done, etc., etc. And that is just a part of design, is what I've learned. But I think it's a really good thing to keep in mind when creating illustrations or design or logos for other people, because, you know, not everybody's going to like what you do. And so if you get kind of comfortable with constantly kind of redoing your work and editing your work and not being so attached to it, you actually become a much better designer. Not to say that you shouldn't be sensitive, but it does help. Okay, so we're doing pretty good. It's come a long way. I'm not sure where these two little markings went. We want to get rid of those. Okay, cute. That's the body of our telephone. Okay, so now it's time to do the actual phone. So we're going to make sure our symmetry is on again. We're going to put on our guide. And we're going to draw our phone. Okay, so we got this part coming through. So, not sure if this is a perfect telephone, but it'll work for what we're trying to achieve, I think, today. All right, so now, since we got that going, we want to do our telephone cord, because that's an important part. So we'll have it coming out here. Actually, I think I want it to be a little thicker. And then we kind of just want to have fun with the telephone cord. So looping it around and around and around. And then we're going to switch it over here because it's gotten tangled. And voila. We just want to fix this little end piece. And that should be good to go. All right, so now when we take off our sketch layer, we have this cute little telephone. It's a little disproportional, but that's okay. So what we're gonna do is add a little layer. And I think we wanna add some color details. So I think we should add in some shadowing to this. So let's see what that color, oh, it seems a little dark. A little lighter. That's nice. So what I mean is we're going to add some shadowing. So like this section right here, let's make that dark yellow. I like using darker and lighter versions of colors, shades, to add some dimension to pieces. I think it kind of just brings it all together a little bit without taking away the monochromatic kind of style. Because some things you really do not want to incorporate too many colors. It's just not the look you're going for. So by adding shading in a similar color, you kind of get the same effect. Alrighty. And then we do have white in our color palette, which is always a fun color to use. So I think we can use that for the number buttons. And I think I'm going to choose just not to write any numbers because I think I'm kind of going for like a very simplistic telephone. Sometimes just doing a simple thing is good because it's more time efficient. And that's important. Okay, so we got that going. That looks really cute. And I think we need to go back to that darker color and put in some more shading. So I'm thinking we're gonna go like this. Like that. And then come in and clean it with the eraser. Okay, what else can I talk about? Let's see. So we're coming in here and adding the shadow. I think this will just add a little bit more dimension to everything. Oh my gosh, it's looking really cute. Okay. So for shadowing, obviously you want to be consistent. So here I did the bottom and the right side. So it's like here, I know I need to do the right side and the right side and the right side over here. Oops. And we already have the bottom kind of going, so we're just going to go like that. Voila, and this is kind of a bottom and a right side, so we can go like this and go. Like I said, you don't have to use shading. I just like it because I think it adds some kind of personality without anything crazy. And look, that took like 5 seconds. Okay, so now we have all of this figured out. So now it's time for the lettering. So lettering, we can go multiple ways. We can go kind of a block print, or we can maybe do some cursive. So what I'm thinking is local leader should be in block print. So I'm gonna bring back my grid because That way, it kind of will keep me on a straight line, which is very hard to do for me. I don't know about you guys, but drawing straight lines and circles are actually really hard. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna just try to get it spaced as best we can. And then I'll show you a fun tip afterwards, maybe if we didn't make it perfectly. So already I can tell this is too thick, so I'm gonna go back down in size. I want it really, really thin and kind of whimsical. All right, so I'm trying to keep it as lined up as possible, but obviously I can tell my spacing is off. It's not going to be center when I'm done, but that's okay because we are professionals. All right, so I'm going to hide my sketch later. And now, once I have, okay, well, stop that. Okay, so I'm going to zoom into the bottom of our art piece, and I'm going to get this all squared up in the center. And I can go actually a little bit higher. Okay. So it looks like I started going a little crooked. So if I want, I can kind of like this. And that's pretty normal for people to get a little crooked. It's hard to keep it all perfectly straight. And we are doing this freehand, so it's not going to be perfect, and that's not the point. The point is not perfection. Okay, so now we want to do calling all. So for this one, I think I'm actually going to do cursive, so it's two different fonts. So the first layer, I'm just going to do really simple but big cursive. And I'm purposely leaving a lot of spacing in between the letters, and then calling all. And then I can just hide that. Beautiful. So before we get started, I can tell it's already off center, so I'm going to fix that. And then just kind of is what it is. Okay, so now a fun technique, and it actually helps your cursive look a little bit better, is we're going to come in and we're going to over exaggerate all the cursive lines we've made. So this is a cool, easy way to do kind of a retro groovy font. And it usually comes out pretty good, which is nice. Sorry, I'm trying to work as fast as I can. But I'm just going to go through and kind of make these big loopy shapes with every part that I can. So as we're finishing up, because we're basically almost done, I just kind of want to review everything we've been over. So knowing your right colors for your brand, very important because that creates consistency. Also, the idea of symmetry is really important. The more symmetrical something is, the better it'll look. So if you're using Procreate, using that tool, if you're an illustrator, using your drawing guides to make sure everything's coming up center and all that good stuff. And then also just like having fun with it, keeping it simple. No one's expecting perfection. And it's supposed to be fun. And if you are intimidated by all of this, just start small. Another good thing is find an illustration you like and try to copy it. I know that sounds funny, but it's actually a great exercise for people who are first starting in illustration, because then you kind of develop some skills and techniques, and then you'll be able to kind of come up with your own stuff. Pretty cool. Okay, so we have this kind of groovy font. And so we're just going to finish up here. We've got a couple more letters to go. And with illustration, as always, I think less is more. If you do have writing on your post, think about the 30% rule. You don't want a designed image to have more than 30% of text on there. And really, it's not about the text, it's about the image as a whole. So making it enjoyable for your viewers is really important. So the message is important, of course, but it's also important to grab their attention with their eyes. So make it fun, make it look pretty. These are all great things that will get people to notice what you're putting out on social media. And this is a great example of a post we're doing for Reno Resilient, where we're calling local coaches. So, you know, if you are running out of content and you don't have a lot of new photos, think about doing a designed image. It's easy, it's accessible, and it's really cute. Okay, so here we go. This is it. I'll take off the drawing guide, but now we have a great little photo to use, and we can export it as a PNG and use it in our social media. So that was my class. I hope you guys enjoyed it and learned a little bit. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. But I hope you enjoyed my class. Thank you. See you next time.